This pile of compost is absolutely massive. 16 tonnes to go into the plot. That is going to build a hell of a lot of organic matter, carbon, nutrients, and it's going to give a boost of growth to my plants. Hello, I'm Sid and this is the Jack Russell Truffle. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. I've just taken on this plot in Devon where I'm going to create an edible ecosystem. Join me as I regenerate this land into a place thriving with life and producing an abundance of food and nursery plants. I've had a massive delivery of compost and I'm starting to set out the Syntropic beds. Yes, I did. I ended up buying in a whole load of organic matter. Compost screened down to 40ml. It's not the finest of composts, but I like that. There's a lot of larger woody material in it and it was reasonably priced. So now I'm setting out my Syntropic beds. These sizes are around 1 metre to 1.2 metre for the planting row and then around 60 centimetre pathways. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one bed as a woody tree crop bed, and then I'm going to have the bed next to it as an edible meadow bed, mixing in all sorts of edible perennials but herbaceous plants. And then I'm going to have another woody bed so that will give more light to the trees and space. And then the edible meadow bed can also act as a biomass bed where I'll chop it and then I'll drop it on the woody beds. This sort of work isn't new to me. For the last 17 years I've been running an ecological landscaping and permaculture design business, creating regenerative landscapes for my clients, edible meadows, edible forest gardens, biodiverse ponds, managing orchards. So this work isn't new to me, although this plot is, and this is the first time I've taken on a big project like this of my own. I've always created projects for people, but permaculture and agroecology have been a huge part of my life since childhood, because I grew up on a permaculture smallholding, and instead of going to school I was taught about permaculture. I'm very excited to get stuck in to my own project without any boundaries to my experimentation, because ultimately agroecology and growing and permaculture is always an experimentation. We never quite know what's going to happen, and that's one of the really beautiful things about it. I've chosen 1.5 metre beds here with a 50 centimetre pathway. The reason I've done 1.2 metre beds is so that I can reach to the centre and it gives me enough space to be able to grow shrubs, small fruit trees, and make the most of the space. Before anyone asks, no, I'm not putting down cardboard. As you can see here, I'm placing the compost directly onto the earth. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because, one, to get recycled cardboard, to be able to do it on this scale, I would need to get a huge amount and it would be just, quite honestly, impractical. I could buy the rolls of cardboard, but then it's buying it new, and I don't really want to spend potentially a few £100s on cardboard. But the other reason is because I've cultivated the soil. That has already broken up the grass, buried it into the ground, and I'm not going to be watering up here. So I want the compost to have contact with the soil, and I don't want that barrier that cardboard creates. when you create no-dig beds and you can't water, the compost can really dry out because there isn't a wicking action happening from the underlying indigenous soil and the compost. There will once the cardboard gets saturated, but it still does create a bit of a barrier. So I want that wicking, and I want the soil and compost connection. You see what I'm doing here? I'm laying out my long measuring tape on the ground, measuring out the width of the paths, the width of the beds, and then that gives me a template to follow whilst I'm putting down the compost. So I can get fairly consistent with the 1.2 metre beds and the 50 centimetre pathways. These long measuring tapes are incredibly handy for this sort of thing. You're going up, Truffle? Come in. Come in. What are you doing? Come here, up. Do you want my coat as a bed? Come on, up. Oh, you want to play, Truffle? Oh, you want to play? Oh. Oh, the camera fell down. Whoops. What I'm doing is I'm setting out the beds first, and then if I have enough compost, which I'm sure I will, I'll then put a thin layer on the paths as well to reduce the amount of weeds germinating. This is actually quite a woody compost. I got compost only screened down to 40mm, which means it also has some fair sizes of wood in it as well, which I quite like that for the syntropic beds, and it was significantly cheaper than buying the 16mm screened compost. Compost is cheaper than wood chip in this area, and this will break down into the soil and be released to the plants in the beds. I've had a really good day up on the plot, creating these beds ready to be planted with a whole range of edible trees, shrubs, perennials and vegetables. Question comes up, like, why do this? Why create a farm and permaculture nursery? We live in an uncertain world, and the reality of our modern culture is our food system is fucked, and the food we eat is often grown in depleted soils where there's a lack of biodiversity. The plants haven't taken up the nutrients they need to thrive. And then those plants are sprayed with poisons to kill off life. The food is sterilised so that microbes don't eat it before it gets to our plate. And then usually that food has been transported over thousands of miles to eventually get to us, to which point when we eat it, it's depleted of any nutrients and often processed so it's a non-food product. And that's the reality of almost, probably about 90% of the food sold in our supermarkets. We also live in an uncertain world in the sense that, particularly here in the UK, our food system's quite brittle. And if there's disruptions from extreme weather patterns, economic uncertainty or war, we are very fragile here. And that's why it's almost like an insurance policy to grow food. But there's also the sense of ecological health, in that if we want to be healthy, we should invest in the health of all beings, because health is connected. To me, I want to grow food because I care about my health, but I also care about the world around me. And that's why here I want to create an oasis, a biodiverse place that nourishes both people and diverse ecologies. And that's why I'm really excited to put my energy into this place. What better ways are there to spend your time? That's me done for today. Truffle's knackered. It's been a hard day. So I'm going to go home, and tomorrow's another day. I've got through quite a good amount of the compost, but there's still plenty for me to carry on with the other side of the beds. Come on, Truffle, let's go. Let's go. What are you doing? Let's go home and get some food. Come on. I'm hungry, you must be hungry as well.